Welcome to our Moody's draft preview, a look at round number 3 in the NFL draft. We'll take a look at some of the potential players the Giants might select based on who's been linked to them on various mock drafts and other articles by draft analysts around the country. I'm John Schmeelk, he's Paul Dottino. Paul, round number 3, the Giants own their selections, so they're picking right towards the front of that third round. Let's start with the running back position. The Giants lost Saquon Barkley. They bring Devin Singletary. They have Eric Gray, but they could have a need at running back at some point in this draft. Two players that I want to talk about here are Trey Benson out of Florida State, who's got a lot of speed, and then Audric Estime, who's a little bit of a different player, a bit of a grinder, 220-pound powerhouse who did not run well at the combine.
I think he was about 4'7", John, if I'm not mistaken.
He did better at his pro day around 4'6".
Now, what I really like about him, besides his power, he's also really good in pass protection, which coming out as a rookie in the NFL as a running back, that is a really big bonus.
I thought he's quick for his size, too, to be honest with you.
For his size, yes. If you look at that component in the ratio. Now, people will say, well, he's not very fast and he doesn't have a second gear for long speed. My answer is, if you're the Giants, you want a short yardage big back who's going to help you grind it in the 4-minute offense. You won't put him in for those kinds of plays. So I think he actually fits the Giants better than Benson, who doesn't really have a lot of jukes and isn't very good in pass protection.
Yeah, Benson does have that top speed, run a sub 4.4 40 at the combine, so he's kind of your big play guy that can get down the field. He can also catch the ball as well out of the backfield. All right, let's go to the offensive line. Look at a couple guards here, Paul. We talked about more tackles in round 2. So a couple guards here, Cooper Beebe and Christian Haynes. Beebe out of Kansas State, who's just really an unbelievable player, Paul. He's basically a mini fridge in college with legs and little arms, but he's just like a big box. I think Christian Haynes is your guy up at UConn, who is physical but also pretty athletic.
Wrote down for BB, very sturdy and gets to the second level very well and understands how to take care of linebackers through the wash.
He's a mauler.
Yeah, he really is. Haynes, terrific motor, has really good leverage. Both guys had trouble, though, sometimes with their feet, which is why they're guards. Okay, if they were tackles, it would be an issue.
And Beebe did play tackle, by the way, in college, but he doesn't.
Won't do it here.
He doesn't look like in the NFL.
Won't do it here. Doesn't have the dexterity to be able to handle that there. These guys are more phone booth kind of guys.
And just for the record, I did see Haynes at the Senior Bowl. He did get pushed back a little bit on some bull rushes sometimes, so I think strength is something he's going to have to develop. The only third-round quarterback I want to touch on, Paul, is Spencer Rattler, and this is just a traits bet because, he's former Heisman, preseason favorite. He's got all the traits. He just hasn't been able to put it all together at the college level.
Release, accuracy, you really, really like it. Pro-ready in those categories, but his timing sometimes not so terrific, and size is obviously an issue. I saw Mel Kiper compare him, I believe he was talking about physically more like a Drew Brees type because he's more smaller in stature. And that's something that you're going to have to be able to overcome because some people just want to have the bigger frame.
One safety, and again, this was connected via mock draft. Tyler Nuben, Paul, the safety out of Minnesota, one of these guys that has a lot of tape out there. He's a 5-year player in Minnesota who could do a little bit of everything, even if his athletic testing doesn't jump off the page at you.
Yeah, didn't think his angles or his pure speed was as good as you'd want it to be, but I did write down really good on his reads, and he wraps up very well. If he gets a hold of you, you're going down to the ground.
I think he'll be a solid starter in the league for a long time. Corner, the Giants, besides Deonte Banks, do we know who their other two starters are on the slot and outside? We don't. Nick McLeod's in the mix. Cordell Flott's in the mix. Maybe Trey Hawkins is in the mix. So we want to look at a couple corners here that have inside-outside flexibility, Paul.
Yeah.
Andrew Phillips out of Kentucky, and then Max Melton out of Rutgers.
Phillips wrote down wrapping issues with him. We've talked about that a lot during the course of these previews. Talking about Melton, reads and angles I was a little bit questionable on, but he does attack the play very well and has really good ball skills.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, let's finally, Paul, stick on defense. Leonard Williams departs. The Giants don't have that really athletic three-technique defensive tackle in-house that can, get to the quarterback and complement Dexter Lawrence. So two LSU guys that, again, people have linked to the Giants in mock drafts, Mekhi Wingo and Mason Smith. Wingo is more of your smaller athletic guy, while Mason Smith is a guy with a lot of traits, had an ACL a couple years ago, but he has all the potential you want, even though the tape maybe doesn't jump off the screen.
Yeah, I wrote down power and agility for Smith. He's a very impressive guy. For me, I like him as a 3-4 defensive end. more so than I like him at defensive tackle. I did like Wingo, though, as a 3 technique. Really good get off at the snap, really good power. But again, he doesn't have as much experience in there. So he's got to develop his repertoire and his toolbox more if he's going to succeed
And
here.
he wore that number 18 at LSU, which is a very significant number for
No
their
doubt.
defense. So I think that tells you what the program thought of him. That's our look at the third round in our NFL draft preview presented by Moody's. For Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmeelk. Check out our other episodes as well as we continue to get ready for the NFL draft.